Brenda Miller Galloway, and I grew up in the community of Boston. My sister's name is Nancy Sue Miller. My parents, Harvey and Rosalie Miller. Growing up in this community was marvelous. We were able to keep our doors open. We could walk in and out of our doors, and I live right next door. Well, actually, I live behind Booby Beatty and Dank and Coot and Wolf and Thelma and Janice and Paul. And I would always cross over the fence. Fence was right there. And actually, I bent the fence. Well, it started bending once I kept crossing over. So, but we would just walk in each other's houses. All we had to do was just say, hey, it's me, I'm here. Good neighborhood, wonderful neighborhood. And the Bishops were next door. And we just enjoyed life with one another because we were all friends, everyone in the neighborhood. We were able to do what we wanted to do, and we were free and able to do the things that we did as kids. We played in the yard, played ball, and we just had fun, normal fun. Hopscotch, name it, we did it. Baseball, we did that in the backyard. In fact, I got hit in the eye once with a baseball, and that was it for me. I said, no more baseball, but I'll go to a game. And that's it. I really enjoyed living in the Boston community and my neighbors.
My name is Vance Monroe Clark. I'm from Boston. I'm originally from Boston. I lived on Kirkwood Street. And my memories of Boston is real fun. That I knew everybody in Boston, everybody knew me, and we looked out for one another in Boston. And I went to Boston, I went to Paisley School, and I'm a member of Paisley alumni. But the most important thing is our culture that Boston brought to us, that we are independent, and the thing more, we was a God-fearing culture coming up at that time. It came from our mothers and our fathers, our neighbors. Matter of fact, our neighbors we can get a whooping by our neighbor and go home and get the same whooping again from our parents. Which today I am proud to be one of those peoples because it built character in me, and now I appreciate Boston as it is today. It done changed a lot. There's a lot of new faces here, but most of the homeowners here are people, relatives of the people who formed this community. I remember when my mother told me that she was one of the first 2 or 3 houses on Kirkwood Street before, and now this is a whole community, and I'm real blessed to be here today talking about Boston community because the future holds much for more to come, and knowing your heritage is more important, and know where you came from because it's so much for the future. We need to talk about this, about our future, about our culture, about what brought us here today. And I'm glad to be here. I'm 68 years old, and I'm proud to be here. And Boston brought and instilled so much into me, my character, and I have to say this: the black-owned schools. I wish it was never would integration because I think that we lost there. If we still kept it like it was, integration, segregation is something that I think is more political because we own our own as black people. In this community, where you have black homeowners, black businesses, black professionals, and black entrepreneurs, right here in this community of Boston. So I want to say this is Boston, and I'm a proud member of Boston. And I love this community and the people that's still here in the community and the people who is gone. My mother, sweet mother. My foster mother, she raised over 100 kids in this community. And this community got a lot of offering. Like I said, she was first 2 or 3 houses here in this community. So blessed to be my mother and blessed this community, Boston.
Hi, my name is Bernice Martin, and I lived in Boston neighborhood all my life. I grew up on Kirkwood Street in Miss Gracie Montgomery Wartlow's foster home. She got me at 3 days old and raised me until she passed away at age 93. And Boston is a beautiful, family-oriented community, and I've loved living here, and I'm glad to be back home.
I'm Rachel Beatty Jackson, and I live in this wonderful neighborhood, and I'm so glad to be able to have a say about how much I enjoyed being here. When I was looking for a house for a large family, I found it right here in this community. And we have enjoyed it because my children had wonderful friends to play with. We had wonderful neighbors, professional people, preachers, creatures, and everybody you want to mention, judges and folk that cared about us. And they grew up here and they left. I'm still here. The children went to Paisley School. Of course, when they got older, they went to other schools in the city. But this community has made a very large impact on how our future became. And I don't know what I even think about living anywhere else if somebody gave me choices. But this community has been an awesome place to live all of our lives. And when they come back, they celebrate being back in the neighborhood. There are a few people still here that were here when I moved in here in 1975. And I'm often been checked with folks trying to buy my house, and I just laugh and refuse to even entertain an idea like that.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Walters Evans. I'm one of the Walters children, 6 siblings. My mother was Lily Walters, and we grew up on Clark Avenue, 1327 Clark Avenue. That was the first part of Clark. Then we moved up to the upper end, still on the gravel. But I remember us moving, and we didn't have to have a truck. We just moved. We toted our stuff from one house to the next. So we were in a shotgun house, and then we moved up a little bit. We had a 2-bedroom house. So God has blessed us. My mother, if she was living, she died 2 months ago, would have been 100 years old. And she would have been honored and grateful to see this happen. But in honor of her and my 6 siblings, we are truly blessed to still be standing here. This is beautiful. It's a beautiful day. And one of my favorite moments, I think, was that we always ate. We was never without. So if the neighbor had food, we had food. If you needed sugar, the neighbor had sugar, we had sugar. If we needed flour, we shared a lot more these days. And you could knock on the door, and if you did something wrong, guess what? You got a whooping all the way up the street and back down the street from the neighbors. So I remember being a pretty good girl because I knew I was afraid of a whooping. So if I did something wrong, guess what? Mama didn't have to do it. She did it last, but everybody else did it. So I'm just grateful and thankful to be standing here today to just say, to God be the glory. God bless you all.
Hello, my name is Gail Walters Wilson. I grew up on Clark Avenue. It was a fun time. I enjoyed attending Kimberly Park School, Paisley High School. I enjoyed my neighborhood. We had a village. It was okay for your neighbor to discipline us, and it was okay for my parents to discipline children in the neighborhood. Everybody got along. And I just thank God for being able to be a part of that community. And now that I've been married for 52 years, I just look back on it and call it a blessing to be able to have come through all that and stand here today at the dedication of this. Thank you.
Charles Walters, coming off of Clark Street too. We used to call us the fish family. My daddy did a lot of fishing during that time, and that kept a lot of meat on the table during that area. Came on up. Another explorer that I had was, I goes on a USS CVA 62, and there go Mr. James Beatty, of all people. Charlie Walton, met up with Mr. James Beatty again. Everybody be blessed and have a blessed day.
My name is Ray Ledbetter. I too was born on Clark Avenue, right in the center of Boston. Clark Avenue in Kenley was the very center of Boston. And I can remember that we were very, very poor, but I didn't know it at the time because we had men in our neighborhood that would look after everybody. My mama had me and 10 other siblings and lived in a 3-room model shotgun house, but we had everything that we thought we needed because of neighbors. People like Frank Morrell, People like A.J. Mann and the Woodyard people, they gave us a job to help pay the $3 rent that we were $27 behind in. But being in Boston, it was a community that people cared for one another.
Good morning. My name is Frankie Denise Penn Powell, and I am really a McLaurin from Scotland County. McLaurins landed in this community in 1931. On that side of the street and on the other side of the street is where we lived. My best memory of living in this community on the corner of 26th and Kirkwood is hearing the Paisley Band bump, 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 bump as a teenager growing up and being able to walk with my neighbors to the band and to the pool on Cherry Street. This is a blessing. I hope we continue to love one another and make this a neighborhood of peace and love and happiness.
My name is Miles Harry, and my roots are deeply embedded in this community. The man who delivered me in the world used to be right down there, Dr. Albert Coleman. This used to be my paper route for several years when I was in high school. The people around here just loved me and I loved them, and the community was where I got all my knowledge. Thank you.
My name is Robert Noble. I'm a descendant of the pond, of the Boston area. My roots started I was born on 10th and a half, which is on the upper part of the beginning of the pond. From that point, I moved over in the projects, which I stayed over there probably about 15 years. And then I moved another time, Kennelly, and my memories of the pond as a whole from each one of those areas I say I lived was very magnificent. We've always was a community. We counted on one another, and it was like 9 of us. And I can remember just all the neighbors. If we wanted something, Mama, go get a couple of flowers from so-and-so. And the same thing, they came to us, and I mean, we were just, nobody, and kids, they took care of it. Like if something was wrong, you was doing something wrong, anybody in the community will whoop your butt, and then they'll tell your parents, so that means you got double. So you always try to respect the adults, and I just think it was some of the happy days in my life, and I would hope that we do sort of keep in mind this, because we do a lot to represent this through Paisley and everything, but I like I say, living there was a joy to me. And I just like to say thank you to everyone. And I think all of us, we hung out together, did things together, worked together. And it was a joy to live in the home. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Mary Bess King, and I grew up on the corner of 25th and Cherry. My memories of Boston, everybody was close. All the children played together. You didn't have to worry about your children going out, but we knew to be in before the street lights come on. We played ball in the field. We played marbles. I climbed trees and everything. But I just love Boston, and I love my people. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Miller Jones. I'm so pleased that I grew up in Boston. We were at Thurman Street and on Lincoln Avenue. My mother and father, Miss Luther May Miller and Mr. Robert A. Miller, were leaders in the community, and I grew up with 2 fine sisters, Camille Miller and Bobbiette Miller. I loved going to Paisley High School. That was my best memory, and being in the band with Mr. Foy. There were so many other things about Boston that I loved, but most of all, I loved being able to be with my friends and my neighbors.
Hi, my name is Lafayette Jones. I didn't grow up here, but I've been here for 35 years. And I came to this city because I am in love with a lady named Sandra Miller. And so all the people that are here today and other places, I met them along the way. And what I can say about Winston-Salem has the nicest people, I'm talking about all the folks, but especially black folks in America, as I've lived all over the country. Glad to be here.
My name is Betty Cliburn Smith. I grew up on Chestnut Street, and I moved over here when my father took sick, and we stayed when he died. I remember going back and forth to Paisley because my daddy would take me. He drove me there and picked me up, and then my brother used to go to Paisley too. So the most important thing I like about living over here is close to everything. The people are friendly.
Good morning. My name is Callista Ramsell Green. I grew up on the corner of 24th and Cherry, and my memories of growing up in the Boston community was that I was afraid because Mr. Ferguson lived on the corner of 24 and a half and Cherry. So anytime that I stayed out of school, he would come down and say, okay, you're playing hooky, you're gonna be locked up. And that scared me to death, so I never missed any more days of school because I was scared Mr. Ferguson was gonna lock me up. But also I lived up the street from where the owner of the Safe Bus lived. And that was just an honor to know that there was a black man that owned our first bus company in the city of Winston-Salem. It was wonderful to grow up in the Boston community. Thank you so much.
Eric Martin is my name. I'm a former resident of Boston. And my fondest memory is the way that we grew up. The people in this community, the togetherness, how things came together. We all knew each other. There was a closeness. It was more of a neighborhood than what they have today. They have communities, but everybody knew everybody. Walked to school from 1st to 12th grade. That was a very fond memory. And just the cohesiveness of the community. Everybody got along. That's my fondest memory, that this was a community of people who cared about each other. We had professionals. Our principals at my elementary school lived in Boston. My principal at the high school lived in Boston. We had teachers, doctors, lawyers. So it was a well-rounded community. Those are my fondest memories. Entrepreneurs. That's basically what I remember about Boston. Boston was a very clean environment. Just a fun place to grow up.
Okay, good morning. I'm Dathula Barron. My earliest memories were even before I lived in Boston, because my grandparents lived in Boston, right up on 27th Street across from the fairground. So we lived in East Winston, but we come up here every day, obviously, because they were our grandparents. And I remember so well, I was like 5 years old, and my daddy would bring me over here for her to my grandmother to babysit me. But they didn't have cars, right? So you had to walk everywhere. And I was a little girl. We walked all over these streets, everywhere. She knew everybody. And you know, everybody had a garden. She said, stop and get stuff from this garden and that garden. We would walk all the way downtown and back. That was, I will never forget that because it was horrible for me. But at least I got to know the neighborhood. Another thing I remember too, along that same time or somewhere between 5 and 10 or whatever, was that we living across the fairground, and it was dirt roads all over here, right, except for maybe Cherry Street. And so living across the fairground, my brother and I, we would yell so we could hear our echoes, because there wasn't nothing else out there, so we could always hear the echoes. But all I'm trying to say is, even before I moved here, which was at age 12, after my grandparents died, it was just such a wonderful, lovely experience. Everybody knew everybody loved each other. It was a real community, a real neighborhood, and it's just really fond memories for me.
Hello, my name is John Polite, a proud 1967 graduate of Paisley High School, and it gives me a great feeling to be out here this morning to just take a few seconds to talk about Boston, 25th Street. We even had a little club over here called the 25th Street Gang. We weren't bad or nothing, but we just was associates. That's when gang didn't have the stigma of something bad. Boston and 25th Street area had a lot of people from Paisley that attended that from there. I didn't live in Boston. I lived on the line. I lived on Trade Street. When I first moved there, it was a dirt street. They finally got it paved and so forth. So I had to hump the Paisley every day, which helped me stay in shape. As you can see now, I'm not in shape, but that was a long time ago. We had great teachers, people that poured into us, that allowed us to be the success, or have the successes that we've had over the years. As the sign indicates, you had all kind of people from this neighborhood, professionals, in every field of endeavor. I just think that it's an honor to have grown up in this area, to have attended Paisley, and to have the associations that I've made over the years. And if I can't say anything else, I can say go Panthers. Thank you.
Today is May the 19th, 2023. This is James J.P. Booby Beatty. I am so glad to be back home to Boston with my classmates, my buddies, my neighbors and friends, and we are here celebrating the installment of the official real Boston Historic Marker that celebrates our community. This has been a wonderful community growing up in, as you see now, because here we are over 50, 60. I'm not going to say how far over, but we are still friends. We are here today. Started off as kids in elementary school, first grade, Kimberly, Harvard Crest, Paisley, and we are here today. Wonderful neighborhood, wonderful neighbors, great leaders that put us here today. I want to thank our parents, our neighbors for inspiring us to do things in life and to stay together as friends and to help make this world a better place. Thank you.